why did it all go wrong for Warcraft here? It's talking about the downfall of World of Warcraft. I think around the time Cataclysm came out. Here we go.
I think by now most of us have seen this chart. Originally published in late 2015, it showed the gradual rise of World of Warcraft subcount alongside the first 3 expansions and the fall in the subsequent 3. Peaking at some 12 million subscribers in late 2010 to 11 during the latter part of Wrath and the...
This graph is like probably one of the most viewed images in the gaming community. Bro, if you could make an NFT out of this graph, you would be a billionaire. You would be a trillionaire if you could NFT this graph. This is an absolutely iconic graph. We need to NFT this thing.
The launch of Cata, down to 9.1 million by the end of the Cataclysm, and to 6.8 million by the end of Mists of Pandaria. And whilst Warlords of Draenor saw a remarkable surge on launch back up to 10 million concurrent subscribers, it lost nearly 50% of those within the first 6 months. At which point in time Blizzard decided there were better metrics to measure the game's performance and stopped publicly sharing this information. You know, in 2024,
yeah, there's better
World of
metrics.
Warcraft as an MMORPG will turn 20 years old. And for about the same amount of years, there's been a non-stop stream of WoW killers, doomsayers, is WoW dying askers, and yet it remains. Though it may not be on the same level of industry-wide gaming powerhouse that it once was, it certainly looks to be so among its genre. But why did it begin to lose players at such a shocking rate?
I don't get it, man, because the game was so good. Like, why were people... The game was good, dude. Why were people unsubscribing?
You actually take a look at the numbers, Warlords of Draenor lost more subscribers in 6 months than TBC and Wrath gained together in...
This just proves that gamers don't know what they want. Like, this proves that gamers have no idea, because WoD was, like, genuinely fucking goated. It was so good. And still people unsubscribed. So, I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. WoD was good. WoD was probably the best. WoD was the best. WoD was the best one.
4 years. Well, that loss began somewhere, and that was during World of Warcraft's 3rd expansion, Cataclysm. Did Cata just suck? Was the time of the MMO over? What gives? Today, I want to take a look at what went wrong for World of Warcraft at this point in time, both in-game and out. Before we go on, I want to do a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, Keeps. Keeps is an online subscription service that helps men keep their hair where it counts, with treatment sent straight to your door and a track record of improvement within 6 months for most customers. Keeps has a whole support team of advisors, prescribers, and care specialists, so you can rest assured on your hairy journey. With a year of unlimited messaging, so you can connect with your dedicated medical provider whenever you need to. Keeps is delivered straight to your door. Think of it as homegrown hair, and because of that, you'll be able to save on time and money, with it being estimated around half of the cost of that of a traditional pharmacy visit. Prevention is key, and Keeps is here to help. Hair loss stops today with...
Can we... So it's minoxidil. I've heard about that. How in the fuck is it... Like, okay, I'm gonna say something incredibly fucking controversial here. How in the fuck are we having conversations about turning, you know, swapping the genders of 12-year-old kids, but we can't stop me from going bald? How the fuck is that the reality in which, how are we talking about gender transitions for 12-year-olds? But I'm still going fucking bald. The fuck is up with this? We live in the worst fucking timeline, bro. I don't want to go bald. Fix the bald shit, scientists. Fix me. I'm a monster. I'm a fucking freak. Fix it! I'm sick of this shit! Ah! You fucking egghead nerd-ass bitch scientist! Ah! Oh, I'm going crazy over here, dude. Oh, getting pissed off. Pisses me the fuck off. Ugh. Play the video, Willie.
With Keeps. To get 50% off your first order, go to keeps.com/WillE or click the link in the description. That's KEEPS.com/WillE.
I need a power gun to cool down.
Keeps today for the sponsor. Let's talk WoW. So it was late 2011, I was still at university, youngest classic WoW player, I know. We had all seen the latest cinematic, Deathwing the Destroyer bursts forth from the earth, driven mad and swearing to consume the entirety of Azeroth in flames. And an expansion is always hype, you saw the charts at the start. Blizzard makes something new, number goes up. It just works. Wrath of the Lich King had seen the greatest engagement and concurrent subscribers of any version of World of Warcraft so far. So Cataclysm naturally had a lot to live up to, and I think one of the overarching goals was to modernize the game a little bit, bring it up to speed and give it a new coat of paint, I suppose. Remember that this game launched in 2004, and this was some 7 years later, where the base game had gone near unchanged. Well, that was about to change, and pretty significantly too, because Cataclysm didn't have Outland or a Northrend. It was the Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor that were receiving changes. Oberdeen was destroyed, as shown in the cinematic by the way. Huge rifts opened up in the world in Darkshore and Stranglethorn Vale, and the Barrens was divided up in two, and this...
All these zones suck dick. Can we talk about like the first fundamental problem of Cataclysm? All of the updated zones suck fucking dick. They're not cozy, they're gross, everywhere you go, everything is all fucked up, you don't want to be there, the questing is boring, you're in this like, it's like a linear fucking conveyor belt style questing, it's boring. The vanilla WoW world, even Azeroth, I'm sorry, even Northrend, even Outland, like, it's kind of cozy. You have these cozy places where it's, like, kind of nice to be there. You like being there. Cataclysm, nothing is cozy. Everywhere is fucked up. Everything is fucked up. Don't like it.
It's one of the first real talking points that people hit on for Cata. The old world revamp made it not really feel like Azeroth anymore, and alongside flying now being available on the base game continents, well, it was hard to argue. For me, Westfall is my all-time favorite zone in World of Warcraft. The mysterious story of the Defias Brotherhood, cutting through their ranks, traveling around the world to learn of their leader.
Favorite zone in all of World of Warcraft. Chat, go! Favorite zone in all of World of Warcraft. Is it Westfall? No. No shot. Oh, dude. Like, I actually legit don't have one. I don't have one. Winterspring. I like Winterspring a lot, but I don't like the zone layout. I don't like the zone layout. Like the shape of the zone itself, I don't like. Stormwind, Elwyn Forest. Elwyn Forest actually is very, very cozy. Elwyn Forest is a really good zone. Ashenvale. Ashenvale is very cozy. True. Ashenvale is good. There would be like 5 or 6 S tier zones, and not only one S tier zone for me. Like there's a couple zones that are tied, I think, for the #1 spot. Sholazar. I don't think any zone in Northrend compares to some of the goated vanilla zones. I'm gonna be honest. Sholazar is like, okay, it's good, but it's not S tier. It's just not S tier.
Intercepting the messenger, topped off with a good old run through the Deadmines, hopefully seeing a cruel barb drop. And in Cataclysm, well, there isn't an Edwin Van Cleef waiting at the end of Deadmines anymore. You witness the rise of a new leader of this organization, and you have a revamped dungeon. It's just all, well, different, isn't it? Oh, and old Blanche dies too in Cataclysm, but she's a mount in Shadowlands, and apparently she was an evil horse in life as she was sent to Revendreth. The more you know. And with the whole...
Dude, they really did Blanchy wrong. Like, first off, they killed him, and then they resurrected him and made him, like evil. Bro, that's not the old Blanchy I know. The old Blanchy I know was a peaceful, loving horse that didn't deserve... He didn't deserve what Blizzard did to him. Fuck you, Blizzard, for doing old Blanchy like that. That was fucked up. That's fucked up.
World changing, so did questing, just like the Defias chain I was talking about. Red Ridge Mountains became an ode to Rambo. Many unique vanilla quest rewards were removed and updated, and armor was also changed to, well, make sense for the spec that you're playing. Even more so than was the case between vanilla and Wrath, that is. In fact, Blizzard have been updating quest rewards since TBC, because vanilla had absolute gems like this. And the questing revamp was an area that players took issue with as well. Uldum, one of the new zones, has a huge quest chain which is pretty clearly centered around movie character Indiana Jones. Vashir has historically always been an...
Dude, Harrison Jones is a reference to Indiana Jones because Harrison Ford plays Indiana Jones. Holy shit, dude, I didn't know...
a huge quest chain which is pretty
No
clearly
way!
centered around movie character Indiana Jones. Vashir has historically always been a negative talking point too, even though it was optional content and you could have just started
Terrible
in Mount
sound.
Hyjal instead. Though talking about overusing pop culture in World of Warcraft during Cataclysm is a bit, I don't know. Yes, there was a lot of it, but there always has been in World of Warcraft. Here's a few not too subtle references from the Death Knight starter zone. We have a quest called Tonight We Dine in Hell, pretty clear reference to 300. I have a little quote from the quest here, the gift that keeps on giving. I have come from the frozen heart of Naxxramas to feast on souls and deliver a vicious threshing upon our sworn enemies. And I'm all out of souls. Sounds rather like Duke Nukem to me. And we even have a quest called Grand Theft Palomino. I mean, come on. All three of these are from the DK starter zone, remember. As in the start of a high fantasy new class to World of Warcraft, which has a pretty serious story arc in the battle for Light's Hope Chapel, and your Death Knight then going on to join your faction. Kind of like how Uldum has a bit of silliness with Harrison Jones swinging around ancient tombs, but then you also have the Halls of Origination, which was rumored to contain a device which could reorder all life on Azeroth, which isn't exactly a good thing. Maybe it was just a bit more prominent and in your face in Cata, but Blizzard have always made World of Warcraft like this. And on the topic of the world, Blizzard a little while ago did a post on the Design Pillars for Classic, where they say,
I gotta say, I really, really wish the way you entered Uldum and Cataclysm was by going through the door that you see in Vanilla WoW. Like the old gate that's like kind of open, like at the far southern edge of Tanaris, right? I wish you actually got to like go, and that's how you went in there, because that was I spent my childhood wondering, like, bro, what's in there? What is that? What's in there? And then it doesn't really. I think you actually do end up going in there, but it's not the way in, at least. If I remember right.
Hey, the world is the main character. This pillar of design means we need to preserve the world we have created from excessive changes. How exactly does that fit in with Cata Classic then, when part of the expansion is the entire world changing? One final thing about the old world and quests changing is a lot less people these days are joining the game, and it's gone in more of a seasonal direction, I feel. Also, we don't have an LFD, so there's going to be even less people running dungeons. Also, the new zones in Cata all require flying to certain degrees. All in all though, if I had to pick one, I do think I have a preference towards the older world that Vanilla had. Anyways, I want to move on from this point as I've got a lot more to cover. So I just mentioned that I think the game has gone in more of a seasonal direction, as in new patch happens, you play the new patch for a bit, until you get bored, you wait for the next patch, and you repeat. I'd wager that per sub, people are spending on average less time in game than they were in 2010, by quite a large margin.
No doubt.
Now, many games have fully embraced this pattern.
I think that's unavoidable though. A big part of that is just a lot of the time back in 2010, a lot of the time back in the day, you used to just log in not to really play the game. You would just log in to say hi to people, just to like socialize. It was like sort of a social media experience. You'd log in, you'd shitpost in trade chat, you'd talk to your guildies, you'd sit there. And now, if you want to talk to your friends, you don't need to do that. You type in Discord or whatever, right? So, I think I think that like social necessity has been met by other things.
Retail, they don't have new patches anymore. They instead call them seasons. And a season in retail will entail a new arena season, a new Mythic Plus season, new raid, a new set of gear, and so on. It's as if each patch is a reset. Now, I want to bring two things up here. This whole idea of the seasonality of the game really began in Wrath. In Classic, gear and itemization was absolutely all over the place. Some items from Molten Core were bis nearly forever because stuff like hit was allocated in entire percentages, and the difference between 1% hit and 2% is actually kind of a big deal. In TBC, this was less of the case. There are some outliers here, such as Dragonspine Trophy, Serpent Coil Braid from Serpent Shrine Cavern, and Cursed Vision of Sargeras from Illidan were great, to name a few. In Wrath, there's straight up a new currency, or at least there was originally, in each new patch through badges. And you know how Blizzard are currently considering how to boost up item levels in Ulduar and then creating Heroic Plus dungeon difficulty for the old Ray loot? Yeah, that's because the first time around, Trial of the Crusader made the vast majority of Ulduar content irrelevant the moment it released. The Blizzard developer, Chris Zerhut, who...
This is something to think about. Like, you guys are never going to stop doing Ulduar. By the end of Wrath, everyone here is going to hate Old War, because once you start, you never stop. Even when you're doing ICC, you're still going to be doing Old War because you want to get as many Valeniers as you possibly can. You will never be done with Old War. You're going to have to do Old War always, every single week. Old War. I hope you like it.
Who implemented original Wrath gear levels is working on Classic, and these are literally his ideas. I don't know how else I can put this. Seasonal WoW started in Wrath, but future expansions definitely continued to lean into it. Also, okay, this is going probably the most off topic I managed to go in a video in quite a while, but I want to say it. I can see a day where subscription is replaced by Battle Pass, and that free-to-play and Battle Pass becomes the go-to monetization for MMORPGs. We know Microsoft is...
Dude, I wouldn't put it past them. It really is not that different. Like, you would have not a season, a patch Battle Pass. You would have a 10.1 Battle Pass, a patch 10.2 Battle Pass. I could see it.
Is buying out Activision Blizzard. World of Warcraft could be added to a Game Pass, but then for each new season of the game, hey, let's try and bring out something for people who play the game seasonally. Think of how many other games do Battle Passes. Call of Duty, Fortnite, League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics, Valorant. Hey, even Blizzard's giving it another shot at the moment with Overwatch. The Riot MMO will be free to play and will have battle passes. You heard it here first. And yes, they will try to sell you cosmetics outside of that too. Anyways, back to the video. Talents and itemization. So back from 2011, you can see time and time again, if I go through comments, that it was claimed that Cata dumbed down the game. Talents went from these sprawling trees of Wrath of the Lich.
The day WoW goes to pass is the day I finally quit playing the game. No, come on, bro. You're gonna keep playing. We're all gonna keep playing, bro. Blizzard could fuck us sideways, and then we would still play. So we're not going anywhere.
King to far more linear, where you were required to invest 31 points into a tree before you could explore your other options, and stats were simplified down a lot. It was in Cata that equipping your class's appropriate armor set gave you 5% main stat, so now paladins wear plate, shamans wear mail, and so on. Gone were the days of warriors enjoying a nice bit of leather. Secondary stats were streamlined, and generally you had much less decision making with gear, and reforging even allowed you to reallocate 40% of a secondary stat to one of your preference, making even suboptimal stats become quite good. From a theory crafter point of view, yeah, you bet it was simpler, a whole lot simpler at that. These days, through talents, guides, bit lists, simcrafts, it's just also easily available to anyone who wants to put some effort into their character. I've said it before and I'll say it again, what made the old talents interesting wasn't the size of the talent tree, it was the fact that they changed it often. Back then, Blizzard did big class changes mid-expansion or even mid-patch. The term flavor of the month began to rise in prominence.
It's not about the size of the talents, it's about how you use the talents. True.
In original Wrath because of this. Also, when I read dumbed down gameplay compared to Classic or TBC after having experienced Classic and TBC, is just, I can't take that seriously whatsoever. The Warlocks go back to just pressing Shadow Bolt for their entire rotation in Cataclysm? No, they don't. Even the average class gameplay in Wrath is so much more involved than Classic or TBC. There's preference one way or the other.
It would be really hard to go back and play Vanilla WoW Warlock, for instance, given how, like, fucking boring the rotation is. So after playing Wrath Warlock, where I have an actual rotation, I have to, like, use my brain a little bit. It honestly, I think it will be kind of hard to go back and play Vanilla, where I just sit there and spam fucking Shadow Bolt and do nothing. It'd be kind of hard. Apply Curse of Recklessness. Yeah.
And I get that, but you have an actual rotation now for most classes. You have timing cooldowns, snapshotting, and so on. There is just objectively more going on. And even in Wrath Classic today, after a decade or more of fan servers, players are still innovating new ways to optimize the game. Rogues using Fell Striker have become the best AoE class in the game. Dual wielding Unholy Death Knights with their pets doing about 70% of their damage thanks to snapshotting and so on. Cata is going to have seen way less testing, and I bet there will still be loads of new things to discover. I think people are making a bigger deal out of this than it really was, and it will be fine whenever they finally do it. Again, just in my opinion. Next, raids and the story. Deathwing.
Well, let me ask, because it's not a bad idea. Who here would play a vanilla WoW Season of Mastery server if you had Wrath of the Lich King talents? And let's say by the time you're 60, you have I don't know how many talent points do you have? You have 56 plus 15. Okay, so if you had this many talent points here at level 60, would you do it? So you could you could have this build, this same exact build at level 60 in vanilla. That would and so you could play demo warlock, you know, in fucking Blackwing Lair or something, right? That'd be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool. You would be playing vanilla and you would have fucking demonic circle. That would be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool.
First big villain to fall short on their boss fight, and yeah, I kind of agree on this one. By Dragon Soul, a lot of classes were actually pretty fun to play. There was just something about the raid which didn't A, live up to previous tiers, or B, feel like a super good send-off for the big villain. Also, Dragon Soul went on for way too long, a trend that would go on to repeat itself in future World of Warcraft expansions. Dragon Soul dropped on 29th November 2011, Mr. Pandaria was on the 25th of September 2012. At least in Classic they get to pick the date.
Wasn't ICC patch like over a year also? It like this trend did not start in Cata. ICC patch lasted fucking forever, dude.
That's for it, right? Dragon Soul also introduced the highly controversial looking for raid feature. Debates on the benefit for the game, or lack thereof, continue on this to this day. I imagine I'll be talking about it a lot more someday in the future, but as to not overdo it here, I'll confidently assume if Wrath has no LFD, there's no way Cata will have an LFR. Alongside raiding, I also think the launch content was straight up too hard for the majority of players. Blizzard had heard that Wrath of the Lich King heroics were too easy, so they completely 180'd that for Cata, and with an LFD system at the time, it was a disaster waiting to happen. Raiding also kept a format similar to what was available in Icecrown Citadel with heroic 10 and 25 man, but now instead both of these gave the same levels of loot. 25 just awarded more items, which sounds great until you remember how some fights are scaled between the two difficulties. There were those fights which were just so much harder on 10 man. Halphus Wormbreaker comes to mind here. There's a reason Blizzard eventually swapped to 20 man mythics, and it was all about balancing the content for the appropriate number of players. I often hear too that Wrath of the Lich King was the real end of World of Warcraft from a story point of view. We beat Arthas, we finished the storyline that began with Warcraft 3. That's it, job done. But isn't there still this army of never-ending demons led by a titan hellbent on the entire destruction of Azeroth? Is that not a little bit of a loose end there? As in the same legion that was tied to Arthas becoming the Lich King in the first place. For me, if there was ever a time of feeling that we're beating the big bad for good, it was in Legion, without a doubt. And yes, there's always going to be threats to the world, even an expansion that had us making friends.
I just think all of the space fucking interstellar travel, spaceship, lasers. The second you leave Azeroth, shit gets fucking cringe. Like even going to Outland and the Draenei spaceships and Tempest Keep, cringe. Don't like it. Keep it on Azeroth. Keep it OG. Keep it like medieval style, Tolkien style, Lord of the Rings style fantasy. Keep it OG, none of this laser shit.
Even an expansion that had us making friends with pandas and farming, we were also battling an old god's corruption. And let's be real, we need a reason to go into raids and get those purple items. For me, the raid of Dragon Soul was a bit more of a letdown than the actual story of the...
Dude, you know what I have to admit here? Dragonlance is like... Dragonlance is truer to World of Warcraft than Burning Crusade is. Think about that. Thematically, that actually is true. Dragonlance is more authentic World of Warcraft canon than Burning Crusade is, or at least like my vision of how World of Warcraft should be. At least you're on Azeroth, you're with the Dragonflights, you're on an island on Azeroth. It's true, it is.
The expansion itself. But outside the World of Warcraft, things were also changing. Times were moving on.
Pandaria. Okay, well, Pandaria is like halfway there, but I gotta say, the entire expansion being focused around it's like the East Asian aesthetic with talking pandas, the Great China Wall. That's not the art style that like it doesn't feel like Warcraft. It doesn't feel Warcrafty. Sorry. You're on Azeroth, technically true, but no.
Few games have ever remained at the top for as long and consistently as World of Warcraft did. And at the time, many new games were releasing, not necessarily MMORPGs either, but titles more specifically aimed at people wanting to engage in PvP content. Now, I genuinely believe a good portion of the players that World of Warcraft lost were those ones solely dedicated to player versus player content, because A, WoW hadn't done enough to evolve the PvP scene since TBC, and B, it was just too time consuming to get into. Kata had rated Battlegrounds, which I think Blizzard could have full on said, you know what, we're just going to throw this into Wrath or Classic, and it would have been a positively received change.
They should have, bro.
At the moment, it's still just Arena and Battlegrounds, the same as TBC, just different class balancing. And World of Warcraft, being an MMORPG, as many of them do, needs heavy time investment. You can't just go from Warrior to Druid one game to the next without dozens of hours put into the game. This matters more in PvP, as something being overpowered is more frustrating when it's deleting your main in 3 seconds as opposed to just beating you on DPS meters. Particularly MOBAs at the time are on a massive streak. Riot's League of Legends went from a reported 1.4 million daily.
This is Riot. This is 2011. This is League before it became Weeb Central. There was a point you young guys might not know. League of Legends used to not be a Weeb game. It wasn't, and now it is. And now it is a Weeb game.
Daily players in mid-2011 to 27 million daily players by early 2014. I think a lot of players got a taste of PvP balancing and tuning made specifically for PvP and did not look back. Not necessarily just from League, that's one example at the time, but no longer did you have to deal with having to get PvE bis. No leveling, no gearing, no PvE balance changes messing up your PvP, no having to spin the 2 plates of these different areas of the game together. It was like taking a car and stripping out all the excess seats, the heater, the radio, all the unnecessary stuff just so it can go faster. That's
used to be a toxic shitfest. Oh yeah, dude. I remember when in League of Legends it was common to call people well, I wasn't doing it, okay, just to go on the record, it wasn't me, by the way, but no, it was very common. Oh, hi Sophia. It was common to hear some pretty bad words while playing League of Legends. Yeah, you would see that shit every single game. Hi sweetie, how are you? Where's your mom? Our baby is too smart. Sophia's too smart. She escaped.
What MOBAs did to MMOs. Get straight into the PvP, no messing about. League is one example. These days you have a ton more with the recent popularity of Battle Royale games, but I do think it was competition outside the MMO genre, not inside, that led a lot of players to let their sub lapse. Oh, and by the way, the competition was free too, which doesn't exactly hurt. Whatever caused the downward trend to begin, it was definitely a complicated thing and a series of decisions that either didn't resonate with the current player base or weren't sufficient for players to keep justifying a monthly fee.
You want Riot MMO? The Riot MMO is going to be fucking huge. Yeah. In fact, I'll tell you this like as a streamer. So every time there is a new really hype game that comes out, you see it with Classic WoW, you see it with New World, you see it with every game. There's a wave of like new content creators. And so I guess what I'm going to say is if you want to be a streamer or a YouTuber, with the Riot MMO, there's a big opportunity. If you're willing to pump out Riot MMO YouTube videos and stream the Riot MMO and like absolutely pump out videos and stuff, yeah, I know you can become that's your ticket in, that's your door in. You start pumping out videos. Elden Ring, a lot of people did the same thing. Yeah, it's true.
I think, and oh boy does this happen a lot, people have a tendency to say, I didn't like X thing, therefore X thing is why the game died. People will tell you to this day that flying killed WoW. Blizzard tried taking it away again in Warlords of Draenor, didn't go so well. But Kata, overall, I can agree with the common criticisms I went over in.
Well, I think Blizzard straight up acknowledges that flying is to some degree a detriment to the game, because for like 5 expansions in a row now, they've had the Pathfinder achievement. I think it's called Pathfinder, whatever it's called, where for the first half of the expansion you can't fly. Why? So why do you think they do that? Because Blizzard must acknowledge that flying to some degree, at least in early expansion, it really undermines the gameplay and your immersion and stuff like that. Yeah, your interaction with other players around the world. Yeah.
In this video, though I think for a classic version, some of them wouldn't be nearly as impactful due to the more static last patch nature of the game now. Also, I think the out-of-game influences, such as other games, MMO fatigue, and the rise of PvP alternatives were a bigger factor than people give them credit for. But that's, of course, just all in my opinion. What do you think? Was WoW destined to drop off whatever they did? Did Blizzard just drop the ball on Kata, or something else entirely perhaps? Also, did you play Kata back then? Do you have any strong memories or impressions of your time of it? And how about a Kata classic? So many questions. Either way, let me know your thoughts on everything I've gone over here today. If you like the discussion, drop a like, it helps the channel grow. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Okay, I want you guys to think back to the very first time you saw this Cataclysm cinematic. Were you hyped? I think this Cata cinematic for me was the first time that I was like not really. It was like It didn't like give me chills the same way that the Wrath one did. Really, for you, you were hyped? Wow, I guess I'm the odd one out. It was like, oh, okay. It was okay. I think also everyone kind of knew it was going to be Cataclysm because the Ruby Sanctum raid was kind of like a segue into Cata, right?
Let me know your thoughts on everything I've gone over here today. If you like the discussion, drop a like. It helps the channel grow. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in. And I'll see you all in the next one very soon.
There it is, WillE. The Grizzly Hills theme song.